seen like the tap trucks and like old vintage cars with just like keg tops coming out of the side and like all that stuff just renting it out for weddings and stuff. I haven't heard of the donkey one. That sounds like a
you'll have to look
unique
it up.
take on that for sure, but it all
Look
sounds
up.
like the same kind of thing.
I think if you like do the hashtag beer donkey,
Yeah.
I think you'll find it, and they're actually really cute. Is this okay?
Oh yeah, just making sure that didn't hold too much, but
Okay.
good to go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Get my plethora of papers. Okay. All right. Okay.
Ready to rock?
Yes, Brooke will be starting.
All right, you can start whenever you're ready.
Beverage. You ready?
Yep.
Hey, hey, hey!
Welcome to Truth Fairies.
I'm Brooke,
I'm Jamie.
and happy post-Valentine's Day.
Yes, this is our Valentine's Day edition.
We were supposed to record on Valentine's Day yesterday, but we're a day late, and then you'll hear it tomorrow. But
So either way,
you have had your Valentine's Day. You're either in a very romantic mood or you're pissed off.
and either one of those is fine for us.
It's all good for us. We prefer pissed.
Yeah,
It
which
gives-
is how we feel most of the time.
It gives us more content.
Yes,
If
it
you're
does.
mad.
Angry people are way more.
I
entertaining.
know. But in non-Brooke and Jamie fashion, we are going to actually talk about like hopeful, romantic, happy things today.
Love. Except for, before we start, I have to tell you something. I don't know if you know about this,
Ah!
but this is kind of this will be the negative aspect, which I typically bring to every equation. But did you know
No.
that Susan Powell has been found?
No, stop.
I will not,
For real? For sure?
not 100%, but 98.
What? Where?
Yes. Yes.
In a mine?
Yes.
I knew she was down a mine.
Okay,
I knew
so
it.
There was a collapsed mine.
No.
Yes, a collapsed mine in the desert, I guess Utah desert.
Southern Utah.
And they got into it. They found clothing that she owned.
Oh my gosh.
They found
chills.
yeah.
I have chills.
Like they found, bones, etc. So they found remains, and I mean, who else would that be?
Right.
In the mine in Utah, in Susan Powell's clothes.
Oh my gosh.
And her family has basically said, I mean, they've sent stuff into, the DNA testing or whatever, but they basically said it's,
How did I
they're
not hear
pretty-
this
They're
today?
pretty sure that it's her.
Oh my gosh. So the thing that bothers me is that he's dead. That Josh Powell will never
Right.
face justice.
Right.
Like that ending to that story was so tragic and so heartbreaking that it just makes me feel like he's never gonna get justice. We all know he did it,
Right.
which is something, but it's like,
Yeah.
But to find her, that's so great for the family.
Right. And then now they'll be able to bury her by her kids and
Yes.
have that closure. But
Because we all knew she was down some mine, but I'm
We
like,
knew.
she'll never be found.
do you remember when we were going to go search for her
Yes.
and we were going to go
Yes.
participate?
Participate.
Yeah.
Why
but
did we not?
I don't know. It might have been a weekday. I don't know.
It might have been a long drive and
But yeah, so there is my,
wow.
my negative information for the podcast today.
No, I think that's positive.
Yeah, it's positive,
It's sad, but it's closure.
it's closure, and it's just one little reminder amid all of these stories of love and joy that not everything is always as it
That-
seems.
Don't marry a psychopath.
Don't trust anyone.
Nope, not even your husband.
Not even your boyfriend.
You can't.
You cannot.
They're gonna murder you
In your sleep.
at any moment and throw you down a mine. Ugh.
Important to remember.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. That little nugget for you.
I have an update for you.
Okay.
How long did you know about the Orbeez? The Orbeez that took over my house.
I have known about the Orbeez for some time.
Well, I just found out. So Piper got Orbeez for Christmas to make stress balls, and they just kept expanding. And they were taking over my house, and I'm like, I swear, I'm like draining the water, and then the next day they're overflowing the bowl. And I'm like, what is happening? And but yet I couldn't give up. Like I couldn't just throw these damn Orbeez away.
Oh, of course not.
It was like the vendetta with me and the Chinese toilet paper.
Mhm.
Like I had to like see it through.
Yeah.
So finally I dried them out in the oven and like
Which I don't think, for anyone listening, do not try this at home. You are not supposed to dry them out in the oven.
I think it's not worth it. Like you can buy a giant bottle of Orbeez for $6. So why in my mind do I think I have to save every Orby?
I don't know.
This is just how I get. I get this way on things where it's like I fixate
Mhm.
and I can't let go.
I'm going to put these suckers in the oven and risk burning down our whole house, but by damn, those Orbeez will be shrunk back to
Because I
size.
spent 2 weeks trying to dry them out. Well, it turns out my sister Heather was coming over to my house and adding water to the Orbeez every day. So I'd go to bed, the Orbeez would be one size, the next day they're bigger. And I'm like, how is this happening? And I'm like questioning my kids. They're like, no, we're not adding water.
Was it one of those things where you think silently, I am going out of my mind?
Yes,
What is happening to me?
yes. I thought maybe they had put that grow your own snow,
Mm-hmm.
you know, where you add water. It's like the Insta Snow, and it
Uh-huh.
absorbs the water like a diaper.
And then,
So I thought you put snow in there and it's absorbing the water from the snow. Like
Okay.
this is what I had convinced myself in my madness.
Mhm.
And it turns out Heather was messing with me the entire
I
time.
forgot all about the Orbeez situation.
Well,
Good.
I think you were an accomplice.
I was not an accomplice, but I am guilty by omission. Yep.
Okay.
Well,
Should
what
we,
a good, great way to start our show.
should we get into
Now we're
the...
going to talk about positive, fun, happy things.
I love a good serendipitous, like, you never would have met unless this thing would have aligned and this thing. Like, Erin and I's story is kind of that way.
Yeah.
Should I tell it real
Yes.
quick? So, post college, so I was a crazy Mormon and didn't get married at BYU. Like, I remember my boyfriend at BYU, his roommate saying, "Are you like the oldest person in your singles ward?"
Are you dead?
I'm like, I am 22 years old. But in Mormon land, that's like,
That's like old maid.
Old maid status.
You were like the crypt keeper.
I was. So I graduated BYU. I mentioned I was in that toxic relationship, broke that off. I'm living back in my hometown of Idaho Falls working as a news reporter. And I dated a couple guys and had this weekend boyfriend, and he had recently broken up with me. And I get assigned this news story, which was a sweeps piece, which is like the fluff piece that you have like a couple weeks to work on, to go do a story about snowboarding, of all things. I don't know why. So I get up there and the guy in charge says, "Hey, the instructor that was supposed to teach you today got a flat tire. So whoever I see next is going to be your instructor." And the guy who was supposed to teach me, his name was Aaron. Well, so this other Aaron all of a sudden rides by. He's got his headphones on. He's listening to music. The ski school director waves him down. And Aaron said he almost ignored him because he was like, didn't have a lesson that morning and he had free time and he just wanted to ride. So he sees him flag him down, calls him over, says, "Hey, will you teach this girl a snowboard lesson for Channel 8? So he's like, okay. So we get talking all day, and he, at the end of the day, was like, "So, like, can I have your number?" And I was like, okay, like, he's cute. And he said he was going to move back to Arizona in the spring. So I was like, all right, like,
No commitment.
Yeah. Snowboard instructor fling. He's totally hot, but he's like a snowboarder. So like, I'm not going to marry the guy, right? Like, you don't marry a snowboard instructor. So we're supposed to go out the next Wednesday, and nothing. He doesn't call me. And I'm with my friend Isabel, and we're like watching The Bachelor or whatever, and he doesn't call. So I'm like, dang, that cute snowboarder guy didn't call me. So maybe the next day, he calls the newsroom where I worked, and Isabel happened to answer the phone, and he goes, "Hey, is Brooke there?" And she says, "No, she's out on a story." And he goes, "Do you think you could give me her cell phone number?" And she's like, "No, I'm not going to give you her cell phone number." And then she goes, "Wait, is this Aaron?" And he goes, "Yeah." And she goes, "Okay, I'll give it to you." So she happened to answer the phone. Had anyone else answered the phone, they would have
happened.
no. And so it turns out he had like written down my phone number wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And gone through like the entire, backtrack. He had written my phone number down on something called Targi Bucks, which they gave employees to spend in the like resort shop.
Mhm.
Well, he had spent it.
Oh shoot.
Spent the buck with my number on it.
Mhm.
So he goes to the accounting office and tells these ladies, hey, I wrote down this girl's number. So they go through every single turkey buck in the bucket, find my number. He finally calls me. He had written it down wrong.
Oh.
So then he calls Isabel, finally gets my number, calls me, we date. We literally get married 6 months later.
Wow.
Because that's how Mormons do it.
That is.
Yeah.
That is. That's a cute story.
So yeah, so it's like there's a few things where like had that guy not gotten a flat tire? Like did God make him get a flat tire?
I don't know, maybe.
Maybe. Had he not been riding by? Had had Isabel not picked up the phone? You know what I mean?
All these things would
I
not.
love
It was like it perfectly aligned.
yeah. Had I not just broken up with my boyfriend.
Yeah.
So
Oh, well, thank you, Channel 8.
thank you, KIFI Local News 8.
Oh my gosh.
And then when we started dating, like I had, you know, like when you write their name and then you look at the news and it says their title underneath.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote Aaron Flake, hot snowboard instructor, like as a joke to myself.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Well, the person who transcribes the little CGs is what they're called, just copied and pasted. Like, and I forgot to erase it. So it aired on the news, Aaron Flake, hot snowboard instructor. And then the main news anchor, Carol Honus, Carol was like, yeah, he's pretty hot too. Like, said it. After
Oh my gosh.
By then we were dating by the time it aired, so I was
Oh,
like, oh my gosh. But it came back to me and I was bright red.
Oh, how funny.
I know. I have it all on video.
Aww.
Cute.
I need to see it someday. You need to show me that.
Well,
Okay.
okay.
Well, let's share our love stories.
Let's talk about love, baby.
Okay. So let me just give an open disclaimer. I have no soul. And so I was not able to, I came prepared with a bunch of like anti-love and like hate.
I'm like,
Hate
let's do love
stories.
stories for Valentine's Day. She comes with like
how to, I don't know, relationship, cheating, divorce, I don't know. Everything wrong with the world is what I came with today. So I'm borrowing some.
I came with a lot of cute ones because I love them.
Okay, so here's one for you. It says, I grew up in the UK but dreamed of living in Australia since I was a small child. In my 20s, I got a visa to go work there and had 12 months to get there before it expired. Shit happened and I ended up quitting my job in the UK and flying there only to be told at immigration that my visa ran out 2 hours ago.
2 hours.
2 hours. And
What an asshole.
I know. And I would need to leave the country to get a new one. So I flew to New Zealand because it was the closest country I could find on the map and booked the first backpacking hostel I could find on Google. I arrived at the hostel only to be told that they are overbooked, so they put me in an Asian backpackers down the road. I ended up meeting a Japanese girl there, and after a year in Australia, I flew to Japan and married her. I am in Tokyo now. With the love of his life.
And they got married. I don't know if they're married,
I
but
don't know, but let's say they are.
that's one of those things like 2 hours.
2 hours.
Sealed his fate. He never would have met the love of his life if he had been there 2 hours earlier in a 12-month span.
Right.
So he had
Down
a year
to 2 hours.
He had a year to get there, and within 2 hours.
But what if he had a better potential wife that he would have met if he would have...
Stop,
Okay.
Jamie.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I get all mad. You're like, what if you were meant to marry that other
What
snowboarder?
if you are really supposed to be the other Aaron's wife?
Oh, what if? I met him later, and I'm going to say no.
Hard
Yeah.
pass.
Hard pass on that one. Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay, speaking of Mormons getting married fast,
Okay.
I have a story from a listener, Michelle, and I love it so much. Okay, so she says, one wild Saturday night while in college, my neighbor had some guys meet up at her place since they were going to go out dancing that night. She wasn't ready yet and asked if they could come and hang out at my apartment while she finished getting ready. One of the guys was a hunky football player, so I decided to allow it. The hunky one, future husband, ended up inviting me to go out with them, and of course I said yes. We get to the club, and I'm getting all sorts of "you go girl" and "yes girl" from all sorts of people. I was surprised because I'm not a dancer, but I kept giving the people what they wanted. A few songs go by, and I'm continuing to please the crowd. I see future husband coming towards me, and I start to plan my reaction to his upcoming compliment. I lean in to hear what he says over the music, and it wasn't what I thought. He said to me, "Did you know that your bra is showing, glowing through your shirt?" These days, that might be done on purpose, but 20 plus years ago at a conservative religious college made this a pretty big deal. I was practically wearing a sign that said, "Ready to impregnate." I was so embarrassed because I obviously didn't know. He leaned down and asked me if I wanted him to take me home to change. That instantly gave him brownie points. I definitely wanted to do that. I changed my shirt and we ended up at another dance club. I found out he was a great kisser. I couldn't blame him for trying. He'd already gotten a sneak peek at my cute bra. That night ended up great because he asked for my number. I was really impressed because the guy had a cell phone and not one of those pay by the minute phones. He had a contract that you can only get out of if you pay thousands of dollars or die, whichever came first. This is like the year 2000. He asked me how to spell my name to put it in his contacts, so things were getting serious on the first night. I later found out that he had forgotten my name, so that's why he asked me how to spell it. I was so impressed with his creativity that I wasn't even mad. 9 long days later, we were engaged. 9 days!
9 days? What is wrong with the world?
We've been married for almost 22 years. The glow-in-the-dark bra worked.
That is great. I remember going to, like, do you remember the
Retrix, that's where it was.
Is that where it was?
So I was like, okay, BYU or Rick's, or BYU Idaho, and she said it was Rick's.
So
and I'm like, wait, they had 2 dance clubs in Rexburg, and she said one was like the Underground, which I don't think was there when I was there, and the one was Retrix.
How funny.
Her bra was glowing at Retrix.
Retrix. Of course it was. Of course it was.
Isn't that so cute?
And how funny is it that 20 years ago it would have been like embarrassing or shocking or whatever.
Well, do you remember did you ever go to the Vortex?
The Vortex?
In Salt Lake? So we used to call it the Hortex.
Yes, of course.
So what's funny about that is we were super conservative, like BYU students or Rick students, and we would drive down to Salt Lake and we would dress in the skankiest outfits, and we called
That'll teach BYU.
It was like we were like the most Molly Mormon in our real lives. Like we had the no zone, like no one touches from like bathing suit area.
Yeah,
this
shoulder.
is my no zone. Yet we would dress like complete skanks and go like Dirty Dancing, Fantasy, Jennifer Grey. Like we would just go grind on the weekends in our like crop tops.
Oh, that's good.
Did you go to that Vortex?
No, I had been there a couple of times.
Yeah,
but
you had a baby, so
you
were like,
I mean, clearly, I was wearing a whore card somewhere else.
That's not what I meant by that. Well. That is not what I meant. I meant like you were an adult.
No, I mean I was being a responsible adult at that time while you were out whoring around.
That's
in the Vortex.
What I meant.
Okay, well let me tell you, speaking of whoring around.
Okay.
Here is a story. Okay, the other night my wife and I were getting ready for bed and being kind of flirty. I had to use the restroom, so stayed downstairs while she went up to bed. While I was sitting on the toilet, I got a text. Bring a bucket and a mop. Crap, one of my kids must have thrown up. I finished my toilet biz and went down to the basement to check the cleaning supplies. I found a bucket but couldn't find a mop. I found one of those squeezy spongy things, but the sponge was missing. Figuring the vomit was probably congealing by this point, I just grabbed the bucket and a bunch of paper towels and ran upstairs. I got to the upstairs bathroom and found no mess. I carried the cleaning supplies down to my kids' rooms but found no vomit. I went to our bedroom and found my wife lying on the bed. She asked what had taken me so long, and I said I couldn't find a mop and where was the mess. She started rolling around on the bed laughing. Suddenly I realized bring a bucket and a mop was a line from WAP, you know, like Cardi B.
I hate that song.
My wife had been in a mood and I had spent 15 minutes looking for a mop in the basement. She was laughing so much that the mood was basically dead.
Bring a bucket and a mop. No.
Speaking of Cardi B,
can we just?
She is so nasty.
For a second.
That is a nasty song. Cardi B, you suck.
Cardi B.
You need to get your act together, girl.
I have never been so traumatized as a mother of a teenage girl as when my sweet innocent daughter came home at like 12 years old. When did this song come out?
I don't
Like
even
2
know.
years ago.
I
So
don't
she was
know.
probably 13 and was like doing the WAP dance, and I'm like, what is this
What
song?
is this WAP dance?
What
of
is
which
this?
You speak?
What is this WAP? This WAP? And
What does WAP stand for?
please inform me of this WAP song. And she tells me, and I Google it, and I
You're like, ah, ah.
was horrified.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're listening to this? Do you know what this means? And she thinks it's so funny. I wanted to climb under a rock
And die.
and die.
Yeah.
That's probably the most horrified I've been. I think I texted you and I was like, do you know about this
know
song?
What WAP is?
It's
It is.
disgusting.
Party, shame on you.
It is-
Shame on you.
You hate her so
I
bad.
hate her. I think she's a barf bag. And she's supposed to be like, you're in the public eye. You are a voice for women, Cardi B.
And she's like a sex offender, basically.
And she is, yeah.
Didn't
Yeah.
she like admit
She admits to like drugging people and having sexual relations
and like robbing them?
and doing she's a barf bag.
If a man admitted to drugging a woman,
We would be up in arms.
can you imagine?
Look at Bill Cosby. Right? Cardi B, you're next in line.
We cancel you and
you are officially canceled.
and your WAP song that confuses husbands,
yeah.
and then they get no play.
No play.
So they ruin the mood. Like, I would still be in the mood.
Get a bucket and a mop. I mean, my hell.
If I texted Aaron, get a bucket and a mop,
Get a bucket and a mop. I'm coming home.
he would think the same
She
thing.
would divorce me. Yeah, I mean, come on. There is nothing attractive about that. Yikes.
He would die. He would be like, can't you clean it up? And then that would ruin the mood. Then I'd be like, if the barf
So-
really happened, you're
Yeah.
not gonna get a mop? That's what would ruin the mood for me.
Yeah. Oh.
Nothing makes me more ready to go than when he cleans up the barf.
Yeah. Bring the bucket and the mop and clean up the barf, and
Although
real party up in here.
there's no party happening when there's a child vomiting.
Oh, yeah.
So I can imagine, but
We're so old.
we really are.
We really are.
Yeah. I'm sorry,
Well, the
guys.
podcast took a turn.
Yeah, it really did.
Okay.
Should I do another meet cute or another romance gone wrong?
Romance gone wrong.
I knew it.
You know,
Okay.
that's what I like.
Okay. I forgot to print this one out in 16-point font, like I usually do. So we'll see if I can read it.
So Brooke is sitting here with like 12 pages
I'm like,
of text that's so huge right now.
it looks longer than it is because I have to print it in 12-point font.
It's like 3 stories.
Yeah. Okay. This morning, I, 23 male, woke up early. So this is Valentine's Day. This is like yesterday. Found it today. He wakes up early, as organized as ever. I had my perfect plan for the day. Walk over to my local trusted florist, get a huge bouquet of roses for my girlfriend, get to the station for my business trip to another city, and return tonight in time for our dinner. I'm a normally meticulous person, but for some reason this morning, distraction took over, and halfway to the florist, I realized I'd left my wallet at home. No problem, I thought. I've known these guys since I was a kid. They'll let me pay tomorrow or later tonight. Well, lo and behold, for some baffling reason, they were closed. Maybe because it was 7:30 in the morning. Just
Probably.
side note. Okay. Anyway, already tight on time, I ran a short distance further to another florist who wouldn't let me come back and pay later. Defeated, I walked back home when I passed a building which had a massive rose bouquet resting on the gate. I thought once, twice, 3 times, then just took it, since it looked pretty abandoned and nobody was around. I've had lots of unique things happen to me over the course of my life, which could have easily solved a problem, and I've stupidly ignored them due to morals or other reasons, so I wasn't going to pass on this divine rescue.
He throws caution to the wind.
Yep. I went to my girlfriend's house, dropped them on her front door, and left, happy that she was happy. Well, that feeling was to be short-lived when 30 minutes later I looked down at my phone to be greeted by 6 missed calls and 41 texts with a barrage of insults and heartbreak. It turns out that the flowers had a note attached to them, which I totally did not see. Said note was addressed to a certain V by her boyfriend with a name that starts with my name initial, and this mother effer signed it with just an initial, who profusely apologized for cheating, saying he didn't know what got into him, saying he only loved her, etc. So not only did my girlfriend find herself with a cheating boyfriend on Valentine's Day, but she also got a note hand-delivered by me in which she is called by another name. So now she must think that she's the side piece and that I'm enough of a dumbass to have mixed the two of them up and sent her the flowers, while in reality they were for this V who I was supposedly cheating on with my girlfriend.
Oh, jeez.
Dinner will be interesting tonight.
That's it? So we don't even know how it ends up?
So he did update it later and said he explained it to her and she kind of thought it was funny.
So either way, he's kind of screwed because it's like either you're a cheater or you're a thief.
Yeah.
And either way, I mean, you have some apologizing to do.
Either way, you done messed up.
You done messed up, boo.
Yep.
And how sad for V.
I know, V doesn't
Well, no.
get the apology roses.
But V doesn't know he cheated.
Ooh.
So he's going to come home and V's going to be up all, like everything is fine and he's going to think she's forgiven him.
Yes.
So V, if you're out there, your boyfriend cheated on you.
V,
You need to break up.
it is time to ditch this guy.
Yeah, you deserve better, V.
And people were like, so explain where these roses were. And he kind of said they were like up against a gate, kind of near like a dumpster, and it seemed really abandoned. So that's kind of how he justified taking the roses. But I'm like, mm-mm.
No, you can't. You gotta be careful when you're regifting, especially something like a bouquet of roses. You gotta
Yeah.
check in between all the leaves.
Yeah.
There could be a note.
There's
there
gonna
could
be a
card.
card in there somewhere.
Definitely.
And call ahead. It's Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
You're expecting to
Yeah.
order flowers on
And
Valentine's
what kind of a
Day?
dirtbag? I think she needs to dump him. He's inconsiderate. He's a thief. And for all we know, he's a cheat.
We don't know.
That's it. It's over.
It's over.
I don't
So that, you know what? Karma's a bitch.
It is a big fat one.
Yep. If you don't order those flowers and you steal them, this is what's going to happen.
So let's say this happens to you.
Okay.
This exact scenario happens to you, and Aaron comes home and says, "Wait, I can explain." Are you over it at that point, or are you?
I think it would take a lot of convincing. I would say, okay, so there was just a dozen roses sitting abandoned by a gate. That sounds really
By
far-fetched.
another Aaron,
Right.
right? It just seems too coincidental.
It really does.
That I think I would have a hard time.
I don't think I would buy it right
I
away.
don't think I would either.
I think it would take a while. It seems like she forgave him too fast.
Yeah, I just think she needs to reconsider.
I do too.
Well, there you go. There's our truth.
Plan out your Valentine's gifts a little more thoughtfully, please.
Yes.
Aaron bought me a rock.
A diamond rock?
No,
Just a rock.
so it was shoot. I can't remember what it's called. But it was, those big like crystals that you see at those like expensive like crystal stores that you can put on your mantle.
Oh, uh-huh.
It was one of those.
Well, that's okay
So
then.
really nice, like big crystal for the mantle.
Oh, that's nice.
I know, I like it a lot.
So Jake got me, and this is gonna sound funny. We watched Joe Kenda. You know he's the detective, the homicide detective. You haven't watched Lieutenant
No.
Joe Kenda?
No, what's
oh my
it on?
gosh, I don't know.
Is it a TV show?
Yes, and
Joe
he
Kenda.
is an older man, but he it's all these reenactments, and he retells these stories of when he was a homicide detective, and he
Wow.
it's where. How have you not
I've
seen
never
this?
heard of this. What's it on?
Something.
I'm gonna have to look
maybe
it up.
Netflix,
Okay.
It's not, yeah.
Ooh, that
Anyway,
sounds so good.
He is, and I have a thing for Joe Kenda. He's like 80,
I love it.
but I think he is such a badass.
It's like me and Keith Morrison.
Yeah, he comes on the screen, and like Jake has gotten to the point now where he's like he's starting to point out Kenda's flaws. He's like, look at the way he like sighs right there, and I'm like, you know what? Back up off of him. He's like 80 and
getting
he
self-conscious
does something
about
for me.
like Paul Holes.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
speaking of detectives.
Speaking of, but Kenda is, and it's not that he's an attractive man, but he's just very badass.
Yeah.
That and the way he talks, I don't know, I love him. But anyway, back to the story. He got
Bring
me
a bucket and a mop.
Bring a bucket and a mop, Kenda, because we got some cleaning to do. Anyway, he bought me 2 books that are like Joe Kenda stories.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Did you have a good Valentine's Day?
Good Valentine's Day. I mean, it was,
Good. I
we're
forgot to
we're
ask.
going out of town this well, we're gonna go to an overnight, just do an overnighter this weekend for one night.
Oh,
So
good.
that will be more
Good.
of our. We didn't go to dinner or anything. So we had all the kids.
I
And,
haven't even given Aaron his Valentine's present.
hi.
I don't know, because remember when we went to that Hollywood Hustler store and I bought him a
Yes.
present for Christmas?
Oh yes.
I never gave it to him.
Uh-oh.
So I'm like, I'll save it for Valentine's Day. It's like an adult gift and I'm embarrassed. like,
You lost it. Have you lost it?
no, it's sitting in my closet. I'm just like embarrassed to give it to him because I'm like still a goody goody.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I know what it was.
Because
Oh,
I know
I
he'll
love
want it.
that.
Because I know he'll want to use it the second he gets it. So I'm waiting till it's a good time.
So it's a good time for you.
Yes.
Get a bucket and a mop.
I'll text him that tonight and see what happens.
Yes,
I
and then
should.
report back.
Okay. I
Okay,
will.
return and report.
I will.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, here, this is it your turn?
I don't know.
Here's a
I
cute,
got real distracted.
sorry, Kenda. Woo! Here's a cute little story, a little love story.
Okay.
It says, we met on Twitter many years ago, but a few months into dating, we were looking at photos that we had both taken at a now defunct coffee shop that we frequented before we knew each other. The bathrooms were painted black and everyone wrote on them. There was a poem, sad teenage stuff, on the walls one day, and I wrote a little response. Love is strange, you are strong. She took a photo and I never really thought about it again. Fast forward to looking at these photos. She showed me the picture of her poem on the wall and I told her I wrote the response.
Oh.
She burst into tears. The words meant a lot to her at the time. We didn't meet until 3 years later, didn't even know each other. A tweet of mine that went local viral just showed up on her timeline and she slid into my DMs. It is so surreal, and the story is getting put into an illustrated book about meet cutes by Olivia de Ricat,
Oh, I'll have to look that
a
up.
cartoonist at the New Yorker. It's
Oh.
4 years later, and we are still together. Been living together for 3, and I love her more than anything.
Oh my gosh. Jamie hates it. She's
I
like,
do.
"Ugh."
I think it's fake.
I
I'm just
love
kidding. No, that is a
it.
sweet story. 'Cause
Can
it's
you
like,
imagine looking through the photo reel and being like, that is
is-
your poem and I wrote that and it meant something to you 3 years ago.
oh,
No,
it's
that's
meant to be.
so cute.
don't get me started on meant to be.
I know. Nothing's meant to be.
Or
The
happens
universe
for a
is
reason.
random.
The universe is random.
But is it? Like you
Yes.
hear these stories and you're like, what?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to ruin the moment. So yes, I think that some things are destined.
Yes.
Okay, I can live with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Or like I probably could have married that other Aaron snowboarder, but he
Your
would
life would be fine.
I'd be fine, whatever. Or my weekend boyfriend that I dated before Aaron that took me to Outback Steakhouse every weekend. And it was fine. We had steak
Every weekend.
every weekend. It was like we didn't talk during the week. Like literally. He was just, and then like Friday night he'd be like, so